Dear respected Thai, dear Sangha of brothers and sisters, Order of Interbeing members and friends. Today is the 24th day of May in the year 2020, and we are with you online, speaking from the new hamlet in Plum Village. We are here for you, and we know you are there somewhere out there, and we're very happy. The earth is inviting us to enjoy spring with her. Her hands are full of spring flowers. She offers them to us. Their freshness, their beauty. We can come back to ourselves and say, breathing in, I see myself as a flower. Breathing out, I feel fresh. The spring flower contains the sunshine, the rain, the earth, the air, the heat, and of course the seed from which the flower manifested. Flowers are the wonders of life, and in spring we have many moments to appreciate their beauty when we live in the present moment. We hear the birds singing. Sunlight fills the sky, and gentle rain nourishes the trees and the plants growing silently, preparing for summer soon to arrive. In some parts of France and in some countries already, there is more of a collective happiness made possible by the ending of the period of lockdown. This aspect of ending the confinement period has given us a sense of freedom. Freedom to be able to go outside, to walk where we want to walk, to experience each footstep, moving us forward. We move forward with happiness, with peace. We can walk on the roads, on the sidewalks. We nod our head to those whom we pass, a greeting of good to see you again after 2 months of not being able to see one another. We are enjoying these precious moments of living fully in the here and now, in the present moment. In parts of France and in other countries that still are observing the confinement, the lockdown period, for reasons of protecting the health and confining the COVID-19 virus from spreading, freedom is still possible. Freedom months when almost all of Europe was in the lockdown. In Italy and in Spain at 8 o'clock every night, some people went out on their balconies and played music, and they sang all will be okay. The freedom to smile, come back to ourselves, to speak on the telephone, to send our love to those whom we love, and we can still make steps of peace and freedom wherever we go, even if it's only in our house or in a very small area where we're living. Freedom is very precious. If we put a bird in a cage, it wants its freedom. It will try to get out. So the freedom we have is also something very wonderful. The training book for novices, called Stepping into Freedom, invites us to live with the aspect of living more simply and having freedom when we practice our mindfulness trainings and mindful manners. This is the freedom from causing suffering to ourselves and others. We know that the coronavirus is free, absolutely free. And she has made it possible for herself to take residence, so to speak, in the human cell and to propagate, to make copies of herself or itself. So as a result, then the human body has become quite ill. In many cases, there have been thousands of deaths. So we want to look at freedom in terms of whether it will lead to happiness and well-being, or whether the freedom, in a sense, will be causing I'm spending a little bit more time on this aspect of how to practice with the losses that many have experienced, and how we can apply our practice to help them, to help ourselves even, our friends, our colleagues, our neighbors. I think at this time the spiritual traditions can offer a lot. All of them, there is the value of loving thy neighbor, offering our presence, our compassion. We know that in different traditions they have different ways of comforting. We can say that your beloved ones will live on in us, your descendants, your children. We will carry you into the future. We can also say that as long as we remember them, they will live on, for they are a part of us as we remember them. Thai has given some beautiful teachings on birth and death, and he said, they are only doors through which we pass, sacred thresholds on our journey. So our lives will continue, and they are the doors through which we pass very easily, without fear. When conditions are sufficient, there will be a manifestation. And when conditions are no longer sufficient, the manifestation will cease. There will be a cessation of the manifestation. So we can think of our bodies. When conditions are favorable, the body continues. When conditions change in the body, then in some cases the body no longer has conditions to manifest. So we will continue our journey together as brothers and sisters, as friends, as Sangha members, supporting one another, recognizing the preciousness of our relationships, the truth of interbeing. This is like this because that is like that. And in fact, Thai has always offered us a very positive way to look at any situation. He says, suffering is not enough. Pain is inevitable sometimes, but suffering optional. So we have choices. We have to remember, Thai says, that life is both dreadful and wonderful. Thai was asked a question, well, how can I be happy and smile when I'm so sad? Thai's answer was, we smile to our sorrow because we are much more than our sorrow. We have seeds of happiness, seeds of joy, seeds of peace, of love, of well-being. And as practitioners, we know how to help these seeds manifest when we recognize what is actually happening right now in our minds. I'd like to talk about a teaching from the Buddha found in the Samyutta Nikaya, verse 36, number 6. It's the Salatta Sutra, also known as the parable of the second arrow. If a person is shot by an arrow, the pain will certainly be strong. If a person is shot by a second arrow in the same place, no doubt the pain will be even stronger. So, it is said that the two arrows represent our reaction or our response to a situation. We may have a physical pain or an illness or even the death of a beloved one. This is the first arrow. We feel the pain. In a guided meditation, there are some beautiful sentences that help us with this. Experiencing a pain in my body, I breathe in. Smiling to the pain in my body, I breathe out. I experience the pain and I smile to the pain. Recognizing that this is a physical pain, I breathe in. Knowing that this is no more than a physical pain, I breathe out. Experiencing a pain, smiling to the pain. Physical pain, no more than a physical pain, breathing out. So let's hear a sound of the bell so that we may have a moment to practice this. If you are experiencing any pain in your physical body right now, experiencing a pain, smiling to the pain. Only a physical pain, no more than a physical pain, I accept the physical pain. And now I'd like to talk about the second arrow. First arrow is the physical pain. We recognize that we accept a physical pain in our body. The second arrow is our reaction to the first event. And it could be in terms of our not accepting the first event, desiring that something else happen as a result of the first event, or having an expectation that others will do something to help me take care of the first event. It can take any forms of our mental thinking about the first event. The second arrow represents the mental suffering that we cause ourselves with thinking about what has happened. So very often we exaggerate, we embellish, we imagine the worst. We say, oh, it will never get better, I will never have help, etc. And this may be a situation that single parents may be facing now. The first arrow is the death of their beloved or their spouse or their grandparents, and the second arrow is how we interpret it, our perception of what will happen now. And this is the second arrow, which in fact we shoot to ourselves. No one will do it. We do it with our thinking. So, in the guided meditation, there is a sentence Thai has written for us. Experiencing the pain in my mind, I breathe in. Smiling to the pain in my mind, I breathe out. Experiencing mental pain may be resulting from what happened, the first event, having a serious illness or accident. Experiencing the pain in my mind, I breathe in, smiling to the pain in my mind. So, I'm aware of whether I'm creating mental suffering with my thinking about what has happened. With my mindfulness practice, I can recognize it. So I just smile to it, and I let go of that thinking. So this will be our practice. We change our thinking and find ways to see that actually help is there. The spiritual communities, the churches, the temples, the synagogues, the mosques are there to offer help and support, as well as social service agencies. So there doesn't have to be so much worry, anxiety, and in some cases anger, wishing to be recompensed for the loss. So these events of losing beloved ones, having pandemics, it has happened before. So these experiences are stored in our alaya, store consciousness. And the current situation may be watering these seeds. And so experiences, strong emotions can come up in our mind. So with our practice, we recognize it. We embrace what we're feeling. We look deeply to find the source. And with that, there's more understanding, forgiveness, and the capacity to continue, to move on. So these seeds our parents have transmitted to us are there, and they can come up in us. Our grandparents experienced wars, pandemics. There have been single parents before. And so this new situation for many, many on the planet, we can have the faith that we know that what we are experiencing is a mental pain. I don't have to make it larger. I accept it, I embrace it, I understand it, and then we can let go. We think of so many children, teenagers, young adults, who are in the position of having lost grandparents, papa, mama, elder brothers, younger brothers and sisters, friends. So, I'd like to offer a very simple practice for these young people. And it's very easy to do. Of course, if a young person feels a strong emotion, then they know to come back to their abdomen, bring their energy back to their abdomen, and do mindful belly breathing to create more peace and stability and calmness in their self. If a child is a little bit artistic and likes form and color, we can offer another practice to the young ones. But we can also practice it too. We're young. It's called red light, green light. Okay, what is red light, green light? If you're walking in the city, or you're on your bicycle, you're in the countryside even, and you see a red light or a stop sign, what do we have to do? We have to stop. Okay, if we're in a difficult situation and we have an emotion coming up and it's quite strong and you don't have the time to think, what emotion is this? Is it anger? Is it fear? Is it a combination? You can say to yourself, red light. And we know in our practice, every time we stop, we come back to ourselves. The bell of mindfulness is like the red light here. When we hear a bell, we stop and come back to ourselves with mindful breathing. So if a young person simply says, red light, that's enough. It's a reminder. I'll stop. I'll come back to myself. I'll breathe. So let's hear a sound of the bell so we can imagine we say red light to ourselves. What are we going to do? We're going to stop, come back to ourselves, and breathe. We'll breathe as long as necessary until we feel better. And when we feel better, the young person, the teenager, young adult will say, green light. I can go. I can continue. Let's hear a bell. Let's practice red light. Stop. Breathe. So during the time that we're breathing with the red light, we're calming our body and mind, we're not thinking, we're relaxing, and also we're creating the environment where the mind may be able to understand why is there this emotion right now. Teenagers can do it, children can do it, young adults. And when we feel that we feel more calm, more relaxed, then we say to ourselves, green light, okay, I'm going to continue talking, continue walking, or whatever we were doing before we said red light. This practice is also good in letting us know, I see a red light in the distance. If you're on your bicycle, you're driving your car, I don't want to encourage too much cars right now. If you're in the bus driver, we see a red light in the distance. That means I will have to stop. Okay? Maybe it will change to green and I can go, but it's a way of letting ourselves know, yes, there may be a situation that I'm in now that may be inviting me to stop and to breathe. It could be based on a conversation I'm having or someone I see and I know I have to do beginning anew with, and I say, a red light coming. So we want to stop and breathe and relax, prepare ourselves. And it's preparing ourselves to be our best, to be our most compassionate, loving, and understanding. So this is the purpose of these practices, to give young people especially simple practices they can do to be able to handle strong emotions, to transform them into feelings of well-being and happiness. So these simple practices, we say, I vow to stop. I vow to breathe. And when I do this, I know I am taking care of myself. So we know the urgent situation is red light, stopping. When things aren't so bad, green light, I'll continue. I hope my explanation has been clear enough to give you some ideas. You can create variations on these practices for young people now who may need some simple practices to help them during this period and after. Other practices we have, of course, is the practice of metta, metta of compassion, sending love and compassion to everyone. And we do that every morning in our meditation. We read a text, may all beings have health in their body and mind. May they be free from their suffering. May they learn how to look on themselves with love and compassion. So it's a love without boundaries. It's a love with no frontiers. There's no more lockdown in this kind of love because it's universal. It has equanimity, it's non-discrimination, which all of the religious faiths, the spiritual traditions have as their core. The love without boundaries, love without frontiers. So we can offer this love even to the coronavirus. I did that in the beginning, and then I saw, well, it wasn't helping very much, but I still think of coronavirus as something visible and invisible, because it is invisible to our eyes, only visible with the electronic microscopes. And I have the deepest respect for this small entity, which no one knows whether it hasn't been classified as an animal or a plant. In fact, it needs a host. It doesn't have its own metabolism. It needs a cell in order to multiply. So it's invisible, but it can cause, at this point, suffering. So hundreds of biotechnical companies are working on medicines or different ways of helping the human cells be protected from this virus in the future. Literally hundreds, day and night. So we're calling on all of us, humanity, the human population, to keep the spirit of spiritual friendship, keep the torch lit, pass it on. Kalyana Mitra is what the Buddha called it. It's the whole of our practice. So it's the love we generate in our communities, our sanghas, our neighbors, neighborhoods where we live. So we want to keep this energy of Kalyana Mitra, spiritual friendship, alive, well-nourished with our speaking, our thinking, and our action. Because this energy will balance and counteract the feelings of helplessness, despair, loneliness, grieving, and loss that many have felt and are feeling, and even in terms of the love for Mother Earth. protecting Mother Earth, the ecological grieving that many have experienced in terms of the health of our planet Earth. There's a beautiful section in a poem that Thai has written called Morning of Peace. And I'd like to read a section, and then we're going to end by inviting a group of our sisters to offer you a song, and I'll explain that to you in just a minute. So in the poem Mornings of Peace, Thai writes, "Brothers and sisters, the beautiful earth is us. Let us restore our calm, our peace. Let us accept ourselves so we may accept one another. Let us share the vision and make it possible for great love to arise. And so we may transmit to one another our insight and strengthen this great love." So I believe it's the love the Buddha taught that has 4 aspects, the 4 illimitable minds: loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. So our next and final moments of being together will be to listen to a beautiful song. It was written and composed by a young practitioner in our tradition. The setting in which the song was written and composed was during a period of suffering in a country where the people felt they did not have a lot of freedom. And there was violence and anger, and it was, in a sense, very dark days for many of them in their city. So they asked, is there hope? Is there hope for us? We want to help, but we feel we cannot do it alone. As many of us felt during the coronavirus, we want to help. We felt helpless, and we couldn't do it alone. So the song says, the world seems so different now than before. It's true. But we see there are still smiles, and people are still alive. So there is still hope that love can be reborn from the ground of fear and sadness. How can we heal and go forward if we only see the dark side of things? So it's time to stop. It's time to breathe. It's time to take care of myself. When I vow to live this day with love, it's going to change tomorrow. Tomorrow, the future will be the continuation of this day of love. It's a very, very beautiful poem, a beautiful song. So we invite the sisters, if you're here, to come up and to offer this beautiful song. So we want to thank all of you for listening and for being online and for continuing to be online with us for this conclusion.
a time when the sun starts to fall, when the fire and tears come along, and the innocent child is risking all his life. Is there hope that comes with the dawn?
There's a time I wish to do something more, but I'm all alone, I cannot be strong. So the sun has risen, his heart to feel each warmth. On this path, please guide me along. It's time to stop, it's time to breathe, it's time to take care of myself. It's not a fault to take a walk in peace and harmony. How can I heal a wounded heart if I only see the dark? It's gonna change tomorrow, because I vow to live this day with love. There's a time I take a little pause. The world seems so different than before. My friend still smiling, my beloved still alive. With this hope, love can reborn. It's time to stop, it's time to breathe, time to take care of myself. It's not a fault to take a walk in peace and harmony. How can I heal a wounded heart if I only see the dark? It's gonna change tomorrow, because I vow to live this day with love. I vow to talk, I vow to think, I vow to act only out of love. In the darkest space of time, there's no hatred and no fear. Our compassion is the light that guides us through the night. It's gonna change tomorrow, because I vow to live this day with love. It's gonna change tomorrow, because I vow to live this day with love.